com. We got a massive slate to talk about tonight. If you're joining from the Deeper Dive, different link today. We will, on days that Josh is producing, we will be on the same link today. We're on a different one, so we'll wait for some people to trickle in. But I'm joined by Chris Randone. Chris, how you doing? You ready for this huge slate tonight?
My man, I'm doing good. Yeah, 15 games. Ready to talk about this craziness with the Marlins being the highest owned, but yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, anytime you can get away from Marlins chalk, that usually tends to go pretty well, as we saw last night. Did you play a lot of them last night?
No, I had all Nova. So I was
That's
all
right.
in
You
on,
told me.
on Nova, pairing it with Clevinger, Cole, and a lot of Marco Gonzalez, which actually panned out a little bit, so it worked out.
Yeah, sounds like a pretty successful night. So for tonight, I don't think we have any weather issues, but we usually start off the top. If we do, me and you have been pretty lucky as far as not having a lot of weather issues when we've been on together. But
Yeah.
right now, I don't see anything. There's possibly some weather in the Nats game. We have a 0% postponement risk across the board, so that's usually what I follow religiously, and that's not really going to stop tonight. Is there any game that you're worried about from a weather perspective here?
Nah, I think everything's pretty safe. I mean, if there's probably one raindrop within 100 miles of Washington, they might cancel. But outside of that, I'm just praying that it's pretty dry, 200 miles away.
Yeah, it looks pretty dry right now. Might get a few raindrops in the middle of the game, so we'll see. But I'll let you guys know if we get any sort of update for the postponement risk. I doubt we'll see one, and if it is, it might be like 1 to 5%. So nothing too scary right now. Um, all right, so let's start. Let's talk pitching tonight. We've got a bunch of quality arms here at the top. Starting with Chris Sale, or I'm sorry, we'll start with just kind of these 10K plus guys. Are you taking a major stand on any of Bowers, Sale, Strasburg, Paddock, and or Nola?
I think Sale is probably the best of the bunch just because of all the upside. And he probably is in the best matchup possible. Tampa Bay actually strikes out, I think it's first or second most in the league against lefties. And I mean, I think Sale's coming back into that groove now. I do like Bauer a little bit just because he's not going to be as owned. So I would say that. But outside of that, I get scared of the Rockies offense. And then I just have no interest in Paddock or Nola. How about you?
For me, it's gonna just be a ton of Sale, really across the board. So Yahoo, you can get to him. FanDuel and DraftKings, I got to him quite a bit. I'm double the field right now on DraftKings. I mean, so right now he's at just under 30%. I'm more closer to 60, and that's kind of exactly what I wanted to be at. I think he's just underpriced once again. You saw some of these aces get priced up yesterday, like Cole and Clevenger and those kind of guys. And that makes it a little bit more difficult tonight. Big slate. You've got a bunch of value stacks that also provide some leverage depending on which stacks you're playing. That you can afford an 11K sale. There's still some cheap options that I think are usable. Not as many in like the sub 5K range as we had last night, but there's still some quality options you can pair with sale and get some really good bats. So it's basically just going to be a ton of sale for me tonight. I don't really know how I get away from him, even if his ownership gets up to 35, 40% or something like that. I still think I'm going to be over the field on sale. So just kind of taking what DK has given me. What do you think about his price just being consistently down all season? Like, what's going on here with sales price on DraftKings specifically?
Yeah, I mean, not too long ago, wasn't he just like in the 9,000s on FanDuel too? Just complete
Mm-hmm.
absurdity. I think it's just because of the inconsistency. I think the price fluctuation is completely based on his inconsistency, where there's some games where has been very potent, and then he'll get that little single digit game where he gets rocked, and I think that just is playing a huge role in the price. And I think you got to take advantage of those times where you can buy low. And tonight is one of those nights. I think he's in a great matchup tonight. I think 11 grand is more than a reasonable on DraftKings. I think it's even more reasonable on FanDuel at 10-2. I mean, he's priced lower than Nola.
Right.
So I mean, at that point, you really have to look at it and look at the matchup and the fantasy point per dollar. And I couldn't agree more with you. I think Sale is probably the best pitcher tonight, regardless of anything.
Yeah, so cash game, he's the guy. I think we both agree he's the guy you're going to, without a doubt. GPP, it's always, you can always make a case to fade someone or go underweight on someone because of ownership. I still don't think the ownership's really high enough on either site. So right now it's just a really healthy dose of Chris Sale. I like starting my teams with an ace when I can, and the bats aren't really suffering for me when I'm playing a lot of Sale. Now we probably project, basically every projection system will have Sale as the top raw point pitcher, but outside, like, is there any pitcher that jumps out to you as a guy that could match him and outscore him on a raw points basis here?
Oof. On a raw points basis, maybe Bauer could compete with him. Out maybe even Nola. I mean, I'm not even gonna look past the fact that Nola has a great matchup tonight. I mean, I like to target Detroit anytime that I can when there's a pitcher that throws a lot of strikeouts. But his price just kind of wearies me a little bit, and I'd rather save a little bit and maybe get the more promised Thane and Sale rather than Nola. I mean, specifically on FanDuel. So, but I honestly think maybe even Strasburg too, because I mean he's facing a heavy team in strikeouts as well. So at a raw points basis, I think those guys could compete, but I think at the end of the day, I think Sale is just in more of a prime matchup compared to the other three.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to compete with him, but if I had to choose someone, it would probably be Strasburg, just because it is a decent matchup for strikeouts against Colorado. They're outside of Coors Field, obviously. Like we were talking about raw points, but still Strasburg's price is decent. He's less than Sale. So if you can't really afford that extra $300 on DraftKings, he might be someone that I would go to. He's also a couple $100 cheaper than him on FanDuel. So when I'm not getting up to Sale, it's probably just because I don't have the extra few $100 for the stack I want to get into, and then it's going to be just a little bit of Strasburg. But I think for me, it kind of, at least at the top tier of pitching, kind of starts and ends with Sale, even though I love Trevor Bauer. Like, I love playing Bauer in DFS whenever I can. It's just the implied total against him. I'll scroll up to it. 4.2 is, a modest total where oftentimes you're seeing like 3.5 against a guy like Bauer. So it's just pretty tough to get to these other guys to make a case for someone other than Sale outside of just an ownership fade or pivot, I guess you would call it.
And Bauer, and I can agree with you, because the reason why I like Bauer too is he gives you longevity in a game. Mm-hmm. And what that means is you're going to get maybe those 7 or 8 innings for sure, because he's going to throw 110 to 120 pitches. So what that allows you to do is to see the potential of more strikeouts, or at least get there from a strikeout standpoint. So yeah, I agree with you. I think Bauer too is probably being a little bit underlooked, and that's simply based on because Sale is cheaper, and Sale is more of a household name as compared to Bauer.
Bauer's last few games for pitching, just pitches. You don't often see this anymore in baseball these days, as pitchers kind of get cut off around 100, even the aces. 120, 117, 114, 107, 127. He had a 91 in there, but then it was back to 117, 118, and 119. I mean, he's just an absolute beast. So, like, he started off really slow last game. I don't think he had a strikeout through 2 or 3 innings. Ended up with 10 Ks, went almost 7 innings. So when there's a guy like that who can battle back from a bunch of earned runs early, you just love having him as a pitcher. So, raw talent-wise, I think Bauer could get there, but like Sale's just the obvious choice. I don't think I need to get cute really at the top there.
Yeah, not a great point.
Going into that next tier, this is one that I've got another kind of clear guy that I'm looking at. And if you look at the Osmo.com premium projections built by Alex Baker, Osmo himself, you can join and get access to these premium projections, promo code live before lock, and as well as a bunch of other premium products that I'll mention throughout the show. One guy's grading out as a better value in kind of this 10K and below tier, but we've got Matt Boyd, we've got Domingo Herman, Caleb Smith, Yu Darvish, and Madison Bumgarner at 9K flat. What about this range? Are you getting to this range a lot? And if you are, is there one guy again that's sticking out for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think I wrote him up today in my Roast of the Day article. Caleb Smith. I mean, this is so weird tonight because on one platform, one of the two teams is heavily owned, and on the other one, it's the complete opposite. So it's like people are hedging themselves on one platform and the other. Specifically on DK, Caleb Smith, I think, is the highest owned potential pitcher tonight, if that stands correct on Osmo's projections. But on but on the other end, we have the White Sox as one of the highest owned teams on FanDuel. So it's a very interesting dynamic. But I mean, Caleb Smith is a strikeout machine. I mean, he has a 30.6% strikeout rate, and Chicago is not the greatest when it comes to battling lefties. I mean, they strike out. I think it's 8th or 9th most in the league facing lefties. So this is an interesting matchup. But I think price point wise, I think Caleb Smith is of extreme value, in my opinion.
That's a pretty bold call. Looking at his ownership right now, Smith is at, let's see. Oh, it won't refresh for me now. Just over 10% on DraftKings, so two pitcher site. On FanDuel, Smith is at just over 10% as well. He's much more affordable over on FanDuel.
Did this change?
What's that?
The ownership projection?
For Smith?
Yeah.
It probably, I mean, yeah, it got updated just over an hour ago, hour and a half about actually.
Okay.
Yeah. Was he super low earlier?
Oh, he was high. He was really high actually. So yeah, he's definitely dropped.
Okay. Well then, yeah. I'm sure you like him even better.
That's just interesting, yeah, because I really can understand why he was so heavily owned on one site and then not owned as much on the other. But seeing that now, I guess maybe it's balancing and leveling out. But yeah, that makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah, so I linked your article in the YouTube chat if you guys want to check that out. That's a free article, correct?
Yeah, that's a free article.
Okay, cool. So yeah, check that out. You can see some fiery takes from our boy. Always got the nuts. In fact, another guy we'll talk about, another pitcher that we'll talk about in just a little bit. He actually called the complete game shutout of Vargas. I always got to mention that, one of the more impressive.
Why am I always on the show when this guy's pitching, man? This is like
you're the whisperer. You're the whisperer.
Super ridiculous.
Ownership will be updated in 5 minutes. I'm assuming that's probably Tom or Eddie running the ownership projections behind the scenes there. But we should get an ownership update if you are a premium member. Yeah. Once again, promo code live before lock is how you become a premium member. You get 50% off your first month of any Osmo.com premium package with that promo code. All right.
What do you think about Caleb Smith? Because I mean, it didn't seem like maybe you would be in position to roster him tonight.
I'm probably not getting to Smith on DK, and that's just because Bumgarner grades out as a little bit better of a value, and I usually don't worry too much about pitcher chalk. I do like the ownership, though, you're getting on a really high strikeout pitcher in Caleb Smith. So I think I'd be more interested in playing him on FanDuel, where you're kind of hoping he matches sale at least point per dollar, and you can afford some of these higher price stacks on FanDuel. So I think I got to more of Smith over there. The only issue, I guess, and Alex brought it up on the deeper dive, the only issue with Smith that I have is that he's not kind of treated like a true ace, and that's probably because Miami's not really going anywhere in the next couple of years. They don't have a reason to push him an extra inning or two, like some of these other teams do, whether they're trying to showcase them, in Bauer's case, a guy who's on the trade deadline, or trying to pick up extra wins to try to chase down a playoff spot. Miami doesn't have, they don't have to do that. So you're seeing often that Smith is getting pulled after 5 and 6 innings at under 100 pitches, where these other guys really aren't, including a guy like Bumgarner. So
that's a really good point, because he's pitched one game over 6 innings all year.
Yeah. So
one time.
They just don't need to stretch him out. Like, I would do the same thing if I was Miami. So
yeah.
But the White Sox are a pretty good strikeout matchup. You're going to get kind of reverse leverage as well. Some of the White Sox bats are pretty popular on DraftKings. Abreu, and I can't remember. There was a couple. Maybe Wellington Castillo was one of the more popular catchers, 2,800, going up against Smith. Smith is a really good pitcher, and I just don't. I didn't really need to get there tonight. How do
How do you feel about Darvish?
Yeah, he's another one where. So Bumgarner's the only one in this range over a value of 2.0. And that's kind of a number that I'm looking at as a benchmark.
Yeah.
The rest of these guys are all well below 2 for DraftKings points per dollar. Darvish is pitching in a really good park. It's not a perfect strikeout match, but he's got walk issues. So there's some knocks against him. He's on the road. I think Darvish is fine. Him and Smith are kind of the same deal for me, though.
Yeah.
I just can't quite get myself to get to them over Bumgarner because the ownership discrepancy isn't big enough, at least.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
Domingo Herman, we should probably mention him going up against the Twins in Minnesota. Pretty decent implied total against him. That's probably not somewhere you're going, right?
No, I have no interest. I mean, outside of maybe just a hint of Caleb Smith, just because of that strikeout potential, I don't really see myself rostering anyone till probably like the mid sevens.
Okay, fair enough. So we'll just kind of mention these guys: Yanni Chirinos, Wade Miley, Kenta Maeda, three guys that I'm not looking at very much at all. And then that mid 7K tier. Well, first of all, Kyle Gibson. I don't think he's going to be someone you're getting to, right? Going up against the Yanks.
No, I'm big on the Yankees tonight, and Kyle Gibson's just too inconsistent. I mean, I think it's one of those once every few starts, there's something there, but Yankees are just too powerful up and down the lineup, and really good on the road against righties. So I like the Yankees tonight.
Yep, I do as well. So just wanted to get that out of there. Probably no Gibson for either of us.
Wow.
Tommy Malone, Chris Archer. Archer picking up quite a bit of ownership against the Cardinals. Cardinals been pretty poor, under 90 WRC plus versus righties on the season. Then you've got another guy that I'm looking at is Merrill Kelly, Dallas Keuchel, Tanner Roark, Mike Fiers. These guys are all between 7K and 7,600. So who's kind of your favorite out of that group, or your favorites, I should say?
Yeah, I think Merrill Kelly is by far my favorite amongst all these guys. I wrote him up today too in my article as a surprise pitcher. Not your typical heavy strikeout machine type of pitcher. However, though, he does face one of the highest strikeout teams in baseball in Baltimore. Their lineup is much more weaker than usual tonight, especially with adding a pitcher to the mix. And they have quite a few lefties in there, which he has only given up one home run all year at home to the left-hand side of the plate. So Merrill Kelly, I think, is in line for maybe a better strikeout potential opportunity tonight than normal for him. So, yeah, I like it. I like the price point too. And outside of Caleb Smith, Merrill Kelly actually does get to pitch at least 90 to 100 pitches. He has gone past 7 innings quite a few times. So the comfort level there's rostering him is there.
I like it. And we just got an ownership update. So if you're a premium member, go check those out. I'm not seeing anything jumping off the page as far as big changes. Sale stayed at about the same, at least I'm just looking at DraftKings quickly. Archer jumped up just a little bit. So now Archer is the highest owned player on the slate right now. But everyone under 30% right now, I would expect that to kind of hold true as we get closer to lock. Didn't see any teams that jumped up crazy, but we probably got in all the players that are expected to play. We're just waiting on one lineup now, which is pretty nice. Chris, last night, I don't know if you watched the Live Before Lock show, but me and Josh, even I think right as the show started, we had every single lineup in. And we were talking about how excited we were, and then we had the I can't remember what it was. What situation happened?
Got canceled.
Yeah. The Nats game got canceled. We were talking about how it might get delayed or whatever, whether or not we were playing it, and then it got canceled right as we started crunching all our lineups out. So, just classic MLB shenanigans. But it looks like, as long as I'm not jinxing it, we just have one more lineup remaining, and that is the Angels. I'm not really interested in playing a lot of them, so I'm going to start crunching pretty quick here because it's a big slate. Cruncher's going to move pretty slow, or at least relatively slow compared to some other days. Okay.
Yeah, Minimax is nice tonight. $2. The nice little kind of leveled payout structure for that top 10.
Yeah, it's actually really nice. I like when they put it at 2. They also ran another one. It was like 11, maybe 12K entries at the $1 price point because it looks like the $2 one's gonna fill up. So I got in that as well. I'll probably run the same 150 in both of those. Have you played more than 150 lineups on a slate before? Do you like if you were 150ing two different tournaments, would you do 300 unique lineups or the same 150 in each tournament?
So I'm gonna do 150 in the bigger mini max, 150 of the same team, 5 stack, all different variations with only 7 pitchers. And then for the next one, I'll do a different team that's projected as one of my highest projected teams with the same pitchers and the same different type of core.
Nice. Okay. I like that strategy. So you're all in basically on two different stacks, is what it sounds like. But you're going to have 300 unique lineups across your
Yeah,
portfolio.
right. 300 unique lineups, but
Two
two
teams.
two main stack teams of 5
Nice.
man with either 5-2-1, 5-3, 5-1-1-1. It just I'll let Cruncher do its thing after that.
I love it, man. That's a nice all in, almost all in approach. I mean, you're 50-50 all in on two teams, but even when that stack doesn't work out, because I've tried that out, I tried it out quite a few slates last season, and it's not like as all or nothing as you would think with MME. Even if you're 5-man stacking on a big slate, like let's say you go in on Arizona's on my screen, so let's say it's Arizona, like even if they score 4-5 runs, if you catch a homer in there and a couple guys have double-digit fantasy points, you're still gonna cash a bunch of lineups regardless. So I don't think it's a poor strategy at all. I actually kind of like it. I just haven't been utilizing it this season at all.
I think it's more important to have the pitchers right than the stack right.
Oh, really? Just in
Yeah.
general?
Yeah, because I mean, at the end of the day, if you get a few points here and here from your 5-man stack, but then your three, your other core of 3 go off, and you have the right pitching combinations, I mean, you're still going to cash, more than likely. So it's all about, I think, having the pitchers right, and then after that, letting the bats hopefully do their thing, and that's why you switch around the three core, with a bunch of randomness and a bunch of different variations. I feel like that is a good approach. I mean, everyone's different, but it's been working as of late.
Yeah, I guess I kind of get what you're saying because oftentimes you will have like not necessarily the nut lineup on a big slate like this, but you'll have 3 or 4 teams that go nuts and score 10 runs. But the question is, do you have the correct lineup construction? Number one. So do you have whether it's Chris Sale and one of these cheap guys, or it's 2 cheap guys or something like that, or kind of 2 10K plus guys where you're spending 20K on pitching. So I think especially for 2 pitcher sites that probably rings more true. Yeah, that's actually an interesting discussion to have. Real quick, before we get into Dong picks, it is almost 5:30. We've got everyone else in this range. We've talked about basically everyone that's 7K or more on DraftKings. $6,800 Jason Vargas. We've got Davies for 6,600. I'm sorry, that's FanDuel pricing. Let's see. Who else? Anyone else in this low tier that you're really heavy on as far as pitching?
Man, I don't hate Vargas. To be quite honest with you, he's actually in a pretty solid matchup. Just strikeout wise. However, though, I'm probably a little bit more scared of San Diego than normal. They have power, and Tatis hits lefties. Machado crushes lefties. And you have Renfroe and Reyes, who are home run machines. So not the greatest of nights for Vargas, but if you're looking for a 5% sprinkle of an SP2, I don't hate it, but I'm not going to say that he's going to have a great night tonight. I think the opportunity is there, but I'm not banking on it.
Right. I'm not banking on it either, but he's actually, like, I was kind of kidding, but he's actually someone I'm getting to quite a bit tonight. Number one, he's not getting a lot of ownership. Are there weather issues in this game? I didn't really see anything.
There is. It's like minimal. I don't know if Alex on Osmo Twitter updated it, but I don't know if it's anything to be concerned about. But I know that there was some type of rain situation going on.
Yeah, I'm seeing. He hasn't tweeted about it. I'm assuming that means that it's all systems go for this game. But
how do we feel about this is one guy that I actually have quite a bit of. Dylan Covey.
Okay, I saw some talk on the old Twitter machine today about Dylan Covey, but why do you like him? Is it just a price thing, or are you seeing something in his pitch mix, or is there something that you see outside of a righty versus Miami in the price?
I think what it is just the matchup. I mean, let's just throw this out there. Dylan Covey's not that great, right? However, though, he is one of the cheapest pitchers out there, and he is facing not the greatest team out there that has very limited power, to say the least. But I mean, yeah, just like Ivan Nova last night, where everyone thought he was going to get completely rocked. I think it's that same situation tonight. I think, if you can get 5 innings from him and 4 strikeouts, and he gives up maybe 1 run, and then you pair him with Sale. I mean, you're looking good, especially if you have some pretty good bats that you stack together that cost a little bit of money. So I don't hate it. In fact, to be honest with you, I kind of like it, and I think it's fair to pair him with Sale, Bauer, Strasburg, Nola, any of those guys at the top, and see what happens.
Yeah, and especially if you're paying up for expensive bats, like it sounds like you are tonight. So, I mean, that's the reason that Covey becomes appealing or at least usable tonight. I didn't see him on the ownership projections. Let's see where he's at. Wow,
I mean, Nova
under 1% on DK. So
I know, because the Marlins are one of the highest owned stacked teams, which, I just look at the matchup and I look at, I get it. I get it when it comes to the pricing, but I mean, the guy's given up 6 home runs all year, and this team hits the fewest home runs all season so far against righties on the road. And it's just like, how do I really correlate this and making it logical to roster Miami? But I mean, this is not anything to do with logic. It's just strictly based on price.
Yeah, I mean, Covey is kind of the reason he's in the major leagues is just that his ERA, and I'm sure all that's terrible, and his xFIP is terrible. He does a decent job at limiting power, at least in his short MLB stint. So a team in Miami that lacks power might be kind of a match made in heaven here. It's a righty versus Miami. He could pick up a couple strikeouts, even though his strikeout rate is pretty poor, and he's 4,600. So. I get it for sure.
And you love Sale or Bauer, and you can get 10, 12 points from Covey. I mean, hey, you could be in line for something special.
Oh yeah, I'd lock in 10 right now for 4,600 and be good. I don't know that you're getting the Ivan Nova performance tonight, where he was chalk yesterday and threw a complete game shutout with 30 plus DK points. That he kind of
that was wild.
It's just amazing that he did it as chalk. That rarely happens, it seems like. And I had a bunch of Nova, but I was looking for 15, and he doubled that. So baseball is weird that way. All right, let's go to okay, someone's tagging us. What's going on here? Nothing important. All right, let's go to Dong picks right now. Did you make one last night? I think you said Chris Bryant.
No, yeah, I did. I had Chris Bryant last night. Yeah.
Okay. How did that work out? Did he dong?
Man, it didn't pan out like my man Josh getting 2 dons from Suarez, which is wild.
Yeah, Suarez is my boy too, so I was happy to see that. I got one with Nelson Cruz. Looks like EMAC did not get one with Dan Vogelbach, although I think Vogelbach is a pretty interesting guy to take tonight. So we'll see. But updating the standings right now. It looks like you don't have any on the official game. I know you had a couple that weren't tracked earlier before you started coming on shows, but
yeah, it's okay. I mean, it's not how you start; it's how you finish.
That's exactly right. I mean, look at Josh lately. Josh has got himself out of last place in like the last 6 days. He hadn't had a dong for basically 6 weeks, and then all of a sudden 5 dongs in 8 games. And he's right back in the mix. So Josh has 16. Chris is in last at 14. I'm in second with 18. EMAC has 21 with a 26% success rate for EMAC. So Chris,
it's winning tournaments, because my God, that's impressive.
That's really tough to do, I think.
I'd be playing all the high stakes games if I'm him. Cash.
Yeah, just take all of EMAC's dong picks as your one-offs. You'd probably be doing pretty well for the season. All right. Is there anyone that's jumping off the page to you that you want to stake your claim in tonight?
Yeah, man. There's a lot of guys. My heart wants me to say one thing, but like my mind wants me to go with someone that is a little bit out there. But I'm gonna go with Austin Riley.
Austin Riley. All right. I'll put you in for Austin Riley. I like
Yeah.
that on a contrarian team where it appears you're going to be pretty heavy on them. So he's one of the lower owned parts of that stack, I think, right? I think
Oh yeah, I
he's
love it. Yeah, I love it. He's gonna double down tonight. I'm throwing a bold statement out there.
all right. So you've got the double dong. He's 10%. That's on FanDuel. He's only 3K over there. Riley's at he's a 5%er there on DraftKings. So pretty interesting pick there. I like it. Always off the board. So you're not picking Christian Yelich every other slate like some of these other guys. But I will take I'll take Domingo Santana actually for Seattle. I like Seattle a lot tonight, as we'll talk about. But give me Domingo Santana. He's $4,500 on DraftKings, batting third. Gonna go up against Brett Martin. What's that?
That's not bad. I like it.
Yeah. I'm hoping he does just for my lineups tonight. So if Chris and Josh and Emac have picks in chat, feel free to fire them up.
Emac went with Hunter Renfroe.
Hunter Renfroe, Seth, his favorite troll's least favorite player. So I'm gonna put Emac in.
Oh my gosh, bro. That's all right. Never mind. That Seth guy. I got nothing to say. I got nothing.
All right, here we go. Renfroe. I put Renfroe in my spot. Domingo Santana.
Wow. Chris Spags was gonna go Riley. So you know what that means. This guy's double dawning tonight.
For sure.
Two Chris's, two Dawns. I'm firing him up.
Okay, so now Chris Spags is taking Jordan Alvarez. All right, and then Josh, if he is watching the show, which he probably is not. If you're watching, Josh, feel free to pop your home run pick in, or you could just update the sheet by yourself. You obviously have access to that. But this home run contest is going to come down to the wire if Emac goes on a little cold streak here. So Emac hasn't had one in the last week or so. So it's about time someone catches him. And Josh is making a pretty good bid. Looks like Christian Walker, Juan Soto. All right, people, their dom picks are all over the place. People complaining about fantasy cruncher issues. I don't think that relates to us. But okay. All right. Let's talk about stacks. We've got, 25 or so minutes until we start, until the slate locks. Chris, I know you're going heavy on two stacks tonight. You want to start with the first one? Whichever one you want to talk about, tell us why you're playing them, how much you're playing them, and basically take it wherever you want.
I like Atlanta tonight. I wrote them up in my article, and I play who I write up usually. And tonight, the top stack for me is definitely the Atlanta Braves. Danny Duffy, he is pitching for the Royals. He's got a really high fly ball rate, and the Braves, they own a 20% home run fly ball rate, and they're one of the best teams at home against lefties, and they have a lot of power, and I love that, especially for stacking. 5.8 run total. And really love Austin Riley tonight. 545 ISO at home against left-handers. Unreal. Swanson, Albies, and Freeman. Love them. And I love Acuna. I'm all over the Braves. That's my number one stack.
I like the call. Looking at the top stack tool, I will, and by the way, if you want access to the top stack tool, once again, promo code live before lock gets you 50% off IndyOsmo.com premium package for your first month. Top stack tool also included in that package if you get an MLB subscription. Top stack tool is one of our favorites. It shows which stacks are over and undervalued, their ownership shares, so you can get a quick look kind of hitting for the slate and see where you can get a possible edge on some of these stacks that are coming in under owned. So it looks like Atlanta, at least on were you talking about on DraftKings, you're mostly playing them, or just all over the place?
Atlanta, mostly on FanDuel,
Okay.
and then now I'm sprinkling them in on DraftKings. I might go heavy on them. DraftKings, my number one stack is the Yankees,
Nice.
all across the board. So, and on the Osmos top stack tool, they're one of the highest projected top stacks of the night. But they hold a lot of low ownership. And I think Alex said it best earlier on the deeper dive. Anytime you have one of those teams that they might cost a little bit more, but hold that much potential, and there's not much ownership, that might be an area that you might want to attack. So that's an area that I'm definitely attacking tonight.
Yeah. Would you consider the Yankees an anti-optimizer play tonight? I'm trying to look at their prices quick. I don't know where they fall on that. I think it's just the nature of a 15 game slate why they're not getting a lot of ownership, because I don't see their pricing being too restrictive on DraftKings, but they're coming up on the top stack tool as the most underowned stack on the entire slate. So I obviously love the call. Gibson, he's a guy who you said is inconsistent. He's a guy who frustrates a lot of us here at the site because he doesn't throw his best stuff as often as he should or in the right counts. And we play him a lot for DFS. We stack against it for DFS. It never seems to go well for Gibson in one way or the other. But I love the Yankees stack as well. I'm definitely going to be getting there. Maybe not as much as you because I'm kind of spreading stuff out. But I really like the call as far as a team to go all in on a team at, let's see, what are they? Under 5% ownership on average, under 3% ownership on average on DK right before our last update. So I like that a lot. What about other top stacks on the slate? You mentioned Atlanta. You want to talk about them at all?
No, I already touched on Atlanta.
Oh, that's right.
So Atlanta, New York, and the other stack that I've been flirting with is the Dodgers. Really good at home against right-handers. They're going to be going up against Felix Pena, who does give up power. And, I mean, there's power everywhere in this Dodgers lineup, and they're really good at home against righties. Ownership has them kind of spread out right now in the middle of the bunch, but some fair price points for them outside of Bellinger and Muncy. I mean, everyone else is kind of fairly priced, especially Seager and Peterson and Verdugo. So I like the Dodgers. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you can get left-handed power, and the Dodgers have as much of it as anyone going up against Felix Pena, I think that's usually a pretty good spot. So Dodgers, one of the best teams in the MLB versus righties. You've got pretty good pricing. Cody Bellinger, of course, priced up as usual, $5,600 on DK. But the rest of these guys, like Seager, 4K, he's batting seventh. I get that, but you're getting a little bit of a discount there. And then Justin Turner, 4,400, moderately priced. Jock and Verdugo batting 1-2, 45 and 4,200 on DK. I think Jock's like $10 or $11 on Yahoo. I mean, just kind of a clear cash play over there. But I think he might be listed. So the only problem with him is he's listed as first baseman, so there's opportunity cost there. But he's certainly a cash option if you're playing cash over on Yahoo. I like the call once again on the Dodgers. Again, it's a huge slate. There's going to be like 10 or 15 teams that I can see myself getting a lot of, but the ones you've mentioned so far, I think the one I'm getting the least is actually the Dodgers. So getting a lot of Atlanta, getting some of the Yankees. I hope I'm not too left out of the Dodgers party. It's sounding like more people on the site. I listened to the deeper dive before this, and it sounded like all those guys were on them as well. So I'm hoping I get them in my Fauna Crunch here. All right. Other teams on the slate, it's looking like the Nats are getting the most ownership. Cleveland, not too far behind. Do you have a favorite out of those two? Do you think any of these are overvalued? Alex said that the Nats stack is one of his ownership fades for tonight.
Yeah, I'm on the same boat. I'll be fading them as well. I don't think I have really anything. I think I have a few one-offs. I think I have Soto sprinkled in a little bit as a one-off, a tiny bit of Rendon, my cousin, by the way, and then yeah.
Your cousin. I don't. You said that so quick. I don't think that anybody really caught that. I barely caught that. I was like, oh, nice, Anthony Rendon. Who was the one who originated that joke? Someone got you on that. Was it Chris
Oh,
Spags?
I think it was Spags. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Classic
Yeah.
Spags joke right there. Um, but a good one nonetheless. I'm kind of on the same boat with the Nationals tonight. I just there's not a ton of difference between the Nationals and some of these other stacks that we've talked about, and the Nats are just getting more ownership, so they might be like the best raw point stack. But on a slate this big, they're not the top stack that often, and it
Mhm.
looks like they're going a little bit over owned on DraftKings and FanDuel, especially on Yahoo. They're more fairly valued if you look at the top stack tool, but on DK and FanDuel, kind of tough for me to be getting over the field on the stack as a whole. I'm still gonna have some Soto one-offs and stuff like that, and probably Rendon, your cousin as well. And Matt Adams is a good value across the industry, but not super wild about the Nat stack. So putting some faith here in Peter Lambert that he can just be not completely terrible to the point where the Nats blow up. Here's one that I want to get your take on. We talked about we didn't really talk about Archer that much, but he's getting a lot of ownership. He's kind of one of the more obvious plays in that mid tier for pitching, at least on the two pitcher sites. So, what do you think about the Cardinals' leverage stack going up against Archer? Is that something you're getting to at all?
No, none. I was just looking at Archer last second. I'm trying to figure out if I want to pay up for pitching or pay a little bit down in this big tournament on FanDuel. So I'm just trying to figure out last second how I'm gonna do my second part of this structuring. But I mean, Archer, he's gonna get you strikeouts, and with Ozuna out of the lineup, it just really kind of gives me less interest in this Cardinals team. Uh, there's not really too much power outside of maybe Goldschmidt and DeJean. So yeah, yeah, I don't have any interest in St. Louis. How about you?
Oh man, I I'm getting to a lot of them as like mini stacks, especially like Tyler O'Neill is one of the guys that's grading out as a pretty good value for us. Um, Goldschmidt, his price is still broken at 4K. I think he hit a grand slam last night, so maybe he'll start to wake up. Wieters is one of my highest exposed catchers, and then you've got Jose Martinez and Edman at the top of the lineup, who are also pretty nice values. So while these guys aren't going completely overlooked or anything, they're one of my highest owned stacks because I said I'm playing a lot of Chris Sale, so I'm gonna have to have some cheap bats, and a lot of the time it's going to be Cardinals, especially when you factor in the leverage you're getting against the highest owned pitcher on the slate. So Sale almost 30%. If I can, limit 30% of the field, if the Cardinals do a little bit of damage, I think I'm going to be in a pretty good spot. So that's kind of my case for the Cardinals. I know it's not a high implied total, and I'd like to avoid getting them as 5-man stacks, but I think I like them as 2 and 3s quite a bit, and especially as one-offs, just because I think they provide a lot of really good value. 4.8 implied total for the Cards here.
Someone asked, do you have consideration for Darvish FanDuel tournament? It's a good question. He's priced at 8,500. Great ballpark, great matchup. To be honest with you, I kind of like it. I'm just wondering, to be honest with you, do I pay for him or do I pay for Darvish or Caleb Smith? I mean, they're all right there. So I don't see anything wrong with it. Single entry, I would probably reconsider, but I mean, multi-entry, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. What do you think?
No, I don't think there's anything wrong with Darvish. I mean, you want to take high strikeout pitchers and guys that can get the quality start bonus on FanDuel. He's in a really good park. We just have some guys around him that grade out a little bit better. So, if you're not going with the projections on the site, then you might get to a lot of Darvish. I didn't get to a lot of Darvish because I put so much stock in the projections, but he's got all the things you want. An okay strikeout matchup, a really good park, and kind of a moderate price here at 8,500. So in a single entry tournament, I think I agree with you that he would be kind of a better play in that kind of format. MME, I'm not getting to a lot of him just because I'm more looking just for value.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Giants at home, they have the lowest WOBA, the lowest WRC plus, second lowest ISO. They strike out, I think, like 4 so yeah, I don't see anything wrong with it.
Nice.
And the weather's going to be kind of not in any favor. So
All right then. Here's one that the deeper dive guys talked about as well. Well, they talked about everyone, but one that kind of caught my ear when they were talking about that I wasn't getting to a lot, that I hope I'm getting to quite a bit. And you're going up against a chalky Dylan Bundy. Merrill Kelly, we like quite a bit, but what about the hitters on his side here? Arizona Diamondbacks, and I'm talking about on DraftKings specifically. It's really tough to get to them because you're trying to force in a lot of value. $5,300 Escobar, $5,500 Kettle Marte. The secondary pieces are all above 4K, and you've got Dyson leading off at 4,900. So they're not going to pop out as a great play in like Fantasy Cruncher if you don't mess around with your hitter projections. But what do you think about Arizona here going up against the homer-prone Dylan Bundy?
Man, I know. I looked at this matchup, and I had Arizona last night. I mean, is the roof open?
The roof, let's see here. It's closed.
All right, yeah, because it's like 100 something degrees there. Bundy, I like want to say yes, but then it's like I haven't really rostered much. I have like Kettle Marte tonight a little bit, just some one-offs, and a little bit of Christian Walker, but I don't have any stacks of them. So I really don't really have much to say because their prices just don't make sense. Like Jared Dyson's really expensive on DraftKings. He's like 4,900. I just can't see myself getting there on a point per dollar basis. So, I mean, outside of that, I just like Kettle Marte and kind of a couple one-offs.
Yeah, I think that's going to be how a lot of people think, and that's certainly understandable. I'm trying to identify these teams that I'm not getting to that I think I should be based on their chance of being the top stack. Like they've got a pretty good chance of being the top stack, 5% right now on DraftKings, 5.5 on FanDuel. Those are well above average for a slate with 30 teams. So
I think Oakland is in a good spot tonight. They're being very underlooked that have the potential to go off.
yeah, talk about Oakland. What do you see there?
Yeah, I mean Oakland has a lot of power. They're facing a lefty in Miley. I mean, I think the regression for Miley has to come sooner or later. It's just ridiculous. And I mean, they're top five in like ISO, WOBA. Chapman is really good against lefties. Chris Davis, I mean, used to be good against lefties. He's just really off right now. But I do like Mark Hanna. I like Pinder, even Simeon. So very interesting because they have the upside, essentially, with the power that they have in the lineup.
Mm-hmm.
However, though, they're just a team that's not necessarily being mentioned or talked about.
Yeah, I mean, I like the call.
And they're cheap. So, I mean, like, you could pair these with like a top stack team and maybe fit in some low guys and get like a Chris Sale or get like a Bauer. So, I mean, it works.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, especially as a filler, Chris Davis's price just broken. One of the few guys who, I mean, he's arguably broken. So who knows what's going on with him. But assuming he's even close to being healthy, 3,600 against either hand, a righty or lefty, it doesn't really matter, I think is a really, really nice price. Pinder can hit lefties, like you mentioned. We got a question in the YouTube chat. Since you talked about the Yankees, talked about how much you're going to play them tonight. A person asked, which Yanks are the best for DK to stack? So who are kind of your top 3 or 4 guys on the Yankees as far as exposure? So,
Ooh, good question. Encarnacion is my number 1 owned Yankee. And then next is Judge. Ursula is up there, just because I wanted to get someone that wouldn't be as owned as the other guys across the board. And then outside of that, I mean, it's all kind of even.
Okay. So Encarnacion, Judge, Urshela. Yeah, I mean, I like getting over the field on a lot of these guys that people don't play in the stack. So is he batting? What is he batting? 8th or 9th tonight? I'm guessing. Yeah. So he's almost never owned, but he usually projects as a pretty decent value for us, and he's a guy that I get in a lot of my Yankee stacks, and I am heavy on them. So I like the call. I mean, you want some of the big bats, but you also got to make it work with the salary constraints. So there you go.
Yeah.
let's see. Any other stacks that we haven't really talked about that you think should be mentioned here? What about the White Sox going up against Smith? I know you like Smith, but pretty decent value, especially on DraftKings for some of these White Sox hitters. Are they catching your eye at all on your non-Smith lineups?
So this is a really good question because I looked at the matchup and I understand from a price standpoint it makes sense. Like Wellington Castillo, that makes sense. But I did write up in my article there were a few things that kind of just rubbed me the wrong way with this matchup, and specifically it's because you have some batters in the lineup that they own less than 100 ISO against left-handers, and they don't really provide much upside. So when I see that and I look at another big factor in this was McCann is, or excuse me, not McCann, but James McCann, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not in the lineup, which kind of threw me off. And there's power right there. So that's another thing. And then you also have Jimenez, who's injured. He's not in the lineup. And then I really did like Jose Rendon, who is priced at 2,000 on DK and does actually have an above average ISO against lefties, but he's not in the lineup either. So that leaves you with like Wellington Castillo, who has the best ISO at 190 against lefties. And then, outside of that, it just, for me, from a perspective of outside of points, like power's not there. The lineup is fairly weaker than normal. And there's some easy left-handers to get out, like Reed, like Engel, and John Jay. So, yeah, I mean, that's why kind of I'm on the Caleb Smith train. But then also it sucks because it's like you mentioned earlier, Caleb Smith doesn't get that Trevor Bauer treatment where he doesn't get to pitch longevity. And that's a huge issue because he doesn't get to face as many batters as maybe like a Sale or maybe like a Bauer. So to be honest with you, like kind of shifting away from both of these. And I'm still debating right now about this Miami Marlins team. It's like I go back and forth. And I say that because specifically of a tournament on FanDuel. From your perspective, how do you feel about the Marlins as a stack?
I absolutely despise it. Anytime they're going to be chalk like this. So like yesterday they were chalk, and I guess I don't like the full stack. I'm not going to say I hate it because I might end up with a full Marlin stack or two or something like that. I don't like the full stack because I think they're just going to pop up so easily for people that just load in projections and they plug in Sale and Bumgarner, and then which teams can you stack? It's Miami is one that you can really stack. On FanDuel, they're just absolutely dirt cheap. Not one player over 3K. A lot of these guys are like 2.5 and under. So that's a site especially that I don't like playing a lot of them, especially when I'm going 4-4, 4-3. They're like the optimizer play that's going to go a little bit over-owned. It's looking like, especially on FanDuel, really over-owned on FanDuel. On DraftKings, I guess they're priced a little bit better as far as being priced up just a little bit, where they're not just going to just be sprinkled in every single lineup because of the value there. So
Makes sense.
All right, what else here?
How do you feel about like contrarian plays tonight? Like maybe like a Tampa Bay Rays team, or like a Toronto Blue Jays team. Any sprinkles there amongst your 150 max teams that have that combination?
I didn't get to the Blue Jays. I don't think I got to Tampa. I'm not really crazy away from the field tonight. I guess the one team, and I'm surprised that this lowly owned with a really good implied total and going up against a Texas bullpen game, is Seattle. Like, they've got power. I know they're not a great lineup, but they've got power with Domingo Santana. Tim Beckham can hit lefties. It's like the one thing he can do. Vogelbach, I know it's lefty-lefty, but that's the opener. And then, like, they've just got some cheap guys with speed and power. So I don't know what's not to like there.
You have Christopher Negron.
Yeah. Who's that? Is that your guy?
He's batting ninth for Seattle.
Yeah. So no, what's his name? D. Gordon. He's on the IL. He just got sent there actually right before we started the show. So that was the one that we were kind of waiting on. I was hoping we got the Seattle lineup, and we actually ended up getting it pretty early. What about Philadelphia? You want to talk about them quick while I upload my lineups here?
Yeah,
any of them?
No, I don't have much of them at all. I looked at the matchup, and to be honest with you, I like Boyd more in this situation. Yeah, the only person I would like would maybe JT Real Muto, and maybe Kingery. But outside of that, yeah, I mean, I don't have much going on with these guys.
Fair enough. I mean, Boyd, the reason I am getting to a lot of them is just that, well, first of all, they're pretty cheap. They've got a decent implied total. Boyd, I think, is really good. He has been really good this season. There's some discussion going on about whether or not he's actually this good. He's got home run problems, or at least he's had some home run issues in certain starts, especially recently. And that's kind of what I'm looking for here. But I don't mind the full stack if you get through Boyd. Like if you can get him out in 4 or 5 innings, I think this could be an explosion spot here for Philadelphia. So that was kind of the one stack that we hadn't talked about that I was getting quite a bit of. I think I got my lineups uploaded. So I'm going to run through my exposures right now. I think yours are going to be a lot of Atlanta, a lot of Yankees. But if you see anything interesting, feel free to call it out. My highest owned pitcher on both sites is Chris Sale at 65% on DraftKings. I got to, let's see, 33.3% on FanDuel. I actually thought I was going to get even more than that on FanDuel. We just got an ownership update, actually. So I'm going to plug that in and then re-upload my lineups right now. Anything you're seeing in your final crunches if you're crunching right now?
No, I already locked and loaded. I'm ready to rip.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
What's kind of your couple of your biggest stands? You want to just tell the people again about a couple of big stands that you're taking tonight?
Yeah. I like Sale. I like Bauer. I like Merrill Kelly. Outside of that, it's pretty much it, man. Yankees, Braves, all day. 150 Yankees, 150 Brave stacks. Let's go. And that's it.
You're a brave man going all in on that on a couple teams, even though a couple really good teams that I actually am kind of jealous that you're all in on. What about if you're building a single entry lineup tonight? Obviously, you don't need to give away your lineup, but you're playing some of the higher stake stuff over on FanDuel. What do you think kind of your build's going to be over there?
I'm kind of
spending up on pitcher or spending up on
stack? Kind of. I like Merrill Kelly a little bit.
Okay, so maybe Merrill Kelly for the single entry. I kind of like that. That's a little bit off the ball. What about your Paul?
It's a little different, but it works.
Yeah, definitely. We do a segment called the Paul Blackburn of the night. So it's a bad pitcher that could possibly end up in a GPP winning lineup. So is it your boy Vargas? Do you have someone on your mind for the Paul Blackburn of the night? I think another candidate for you might be Dylan Covey.
Yeah, I guess you could say that.
Yeah, dude. I think for me, it might be Vargas. I'm going to load up my exposures here once I re-upload this. But, yeah, it's looking like I actually got to a decent amount of Jason Vargas. I don't even want to say that too loud. I don't want people yelling at me when he gets shelled. Because you didn't fully endorse him. You weren't expecting the huge start from him. So
I definitely endorsed him. I just didn't, I guess, fully endorse him.
Right. I mean, you played the Vargas card as good as anyone's ever played it. So, you are now henceforth known as the Vargas Whisperer. Let's see how much I actually got to Vargas. All right.
Yeah, I'm curious how much you got.
25% on DraftKings. Wow. So not really necessary on FanDuel. I doubt I got to any shares of him over there, but yeah, pretty brutal. But he's allowing me to get in 65% Chris Sale, a lot of good stacks. Oh, man, a lot of Phillies that ended up in my lineups, but looks like I got even more Yankees than I was getting before. So I really like that.
Is Ohtani starting tonight?
Let's see. Angels lineup is not out. He's not in my projected lineup that I'm seeing right now, but who knows? Angels have been doing some weird stuff lately.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Well, here we go. We got the $1,590 team created. So,
nice, dude.
Yeah.
I'll be rooting for you in that, and if not you, of course, the other Osmo logos in that tournament. I'm sure there's going to be a couple of them as well.
He's got 2 teams in it. I got 1. So I guess we'll see. We'll have to see what happens.
You just got to be better than him. That's all. No big deal. That's pretty easy to do, right?
I kind of already know where he's going tonight for sure with that.
Yeah, I mean, he comes on and tells everyone what his thought process is. So, some deductive reasoning, you can kind of figure out where he's going to be, whether or not he's paying up for pitcher a lot and stuff. And, if I, like in MME tournaments, I would expect Alex to be at around the same ownership for sale as I am, if not more. So I got him at 63% now. Would be surprised if Alex is not well over 50, and it might be a Blake Snell situation from the other day where he had like 95% type of thing.
So here's my, can I guess what Alex is going to do?
Yeah, let's hear it.
I think he's going to go Sale with the Yankees and the Marlins.
Sale with the Yankees and Marlins. Nice.
Yeah.
That could be it. Are the Marlins locked yet? They're not locked, so.
No, they're not. So we won't know.
Okay.
But yeah. But I'm curious to see. Wow. So Washington is out. And so out of 67 teams in the $190 tournament, Matt Adams is 30%. Washington is 20. Dozier's 20. Eaton's 20. Soto's 20.
Man, that seems high on a 15-game slate.
Huge, very highly owned in 67 players for the Washington Nationals. So, you know what that means, right?
That means
Alex said he was fading Washington. He's all Washington.
So
I'm just kidding. He's Pittsburgh. So Alex has Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, yeah. 3%. He's the only one that has Pittsburgh.
Wow. Okay, so I'm going to look at my lineup rankings here and see if I got any Pittsburgh near the top. I don't think I did. So what he does in those big tournaments is he just takes the lineup he deems best based on correlation and ownership and projection, like a combination of all 3 of those. So Pittsburgh getting basically no ownership. Wow, that's not what I would have expected at all. So interesting to see how this plays out.
Yeah, so Pittsburgh, 3.5% top stack. So they're kind of like in the middle of the bunch, which, obviously makes sense. And so I could see Pittsburgh being paired with the Yankees here. Definitely could make some sense.
Yeah.
With this roster construction. So very, very interesting. But then again, they're also kind of highly priced. So that's going to be hard for them to fit in. So it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of his roster plays out.
If Pittsburgh goes off, he wins that tournament. I think that's pretty fair to say, right? No one else is on them.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
Path of least resistance right there.
Yeah.
So
100%.
That's why he's the best. He does stuff that people don't really think about or think about in the same way as him. All right, so once again, guys, promo code Live Before Lock will get you 50% off your first month of Awesemo.com Premium. Please use that code when you sign up. It makes us look good. And feel free to hit the like button on your way out, as Josh would say. But we had a bunch of people in chat. I forgot to ask for likes before, but now I'm begging you to hit those like buttons. It really does help us out, helps us provide more free content. But Chris, any last words before we move on to this lock here?
No. Go Peter Lambert all day. Got to root against the Nationals right now. I hope there's a lot of people there with me rooting against them.
Go Lambert. You heard it here first. Good luck tonight, guys.
See you guys later.